Grass Part by FaeSparks. Narrated by text-to-speech, courtesy of ElevenLabs. Prologue.
A ruby glow pulsed from between the mountains as we fled. A fire started by the Theos. It purged our livelihoods from the face of the earth and incinerated the bodies of our massacred loved ones, our civilians. How the enemy had breached our defenses was impossible to know. Not when the evidence would soon be ash, but the reason why they'd done it was an immutable fact. I set my anger and questions aside. My people needed me. I addressed what remained of them. Calm is the mind, calm is the spirit. The words were in casting tongue, in ancient Latin. My century of soldiers, reeling in our collective telepathy, took up the mantra. It buzzed out in ripples from mind to mind. Beneath me, my monstrous mount keened a whine. His patchy, wolfish fur scratched my palms as I braced over his withers. Withers that towered over the heads of my unmounted subordinates. He turned his head and met my gaze with a set of familiar gray eyes. His face was wrinkled and beastly, his limbs long and bent, although they grasped as a man's would. My brother, Bruno, inspected me a moment longer, checking in on my jittering nerve. "We will grieve later," Mama reminded me in our usual mother tongue, Italian. Father, in beast form, lumbered up to our right flank, bringing Mama close. Her shaking hand braced on my shoulder. "You are the centurion. You must lead the evacuation." Abandoning the homeland. It was our only option, I realized. Defeat rippled through the group. Unmounted soldiers, the battlers, shifted their footing. Beasts let out low, keening whines, and mounted riders, the mages, slumped. "So long as we're alive," I called out in Italian, "we will uphold the Lunari legacy. So long as we're alive, we will defend humanity from evil, the same evil that seeks to eradicate us. Yet here we still stand. Keep your chins up, keep your hopes up. We will survive this." There was a jolt in the mental dynamic. "Enemy! North! Northeast!" The mental voice, pitched with anxiety, was still familiar. One of my little cousins, a battler scout from Mama's subunit. "Move out," I called. Watery light washed ahead, barely illuminating our path from the thin, wolf's claw moon above. Demons gaining! Sure enough, black demon smoke hissed through low shrubbery like sharks beneath waves. "Tighten formation," I ordered. "I need scouts ahead." I knew who to send. My cousins had grown to be the most skilled of their generation, and for all we knew, the teleportation hub could be overrun too. They moved at my thought, Mama's squad consisting of my 8 remaining cousins and father. Anxiety shivered in my stomach as they moved ahead. I'd already lost 4 precious cousins, 2 whose bodies I'd witnessed ripped open and strewn over our front stoop. 2 whose bodies were missing, that I'd likely never find. Set that aside for now, I thought. "Demons closing in," a scout called. "A volley of spells," I ordered. Mage minds began to crisp and focus. Smooth as silk and bright as the full moon, magic illuminated the dreadful night and burst off their fingertips. Demon crackles turned to high-pitched sizzles, like a campfire doused in water. The enemy fell back. Finally, our destination was upon us. A yawning, shallow basin between high peaks that sent cooling relief through my veins. In its center were 3 dozen gigantic circles fit snugly beside one another. Mama stood in the center of one with her arms splayed. Around her, the silver writing carved in our casting tongue began to glow silver as she chanted. Slowly, the glow inched around the circumference. "Mages, fill those circles," I barked. "All others, rearm our battlers." 10 mages threw themselves down and sprinted into the basin. I helped rearm my cousins. Cousin Atticus elbowed forward and barked, "Longsword." I set both hands before me, palms up toward the moon, and focused. Spatha. Pins of silver light descended like rain, their light melting and elongating into the shape of a hilt, and then a long, lethal blade. One by one, I offered weapons. As a rapier dropped into Cousin Elza's shaking hands, she lifted her masked face to me. Auntie, her voice trembled. May I have a glyph, please? I can't stop shaking. Of course, I murmured. Bruno knelt. I reached to touch the skin of her chest and focused on imbuing the glyph. Robbervelox. Beneath my fingers, the glyph swirled out in white and wafted a scant silver smoke. Elsa breathed deeply, her strength reinforced. As Mama's second, Father arranged the cousins into formation. Warmth swelled in my chest as the 8 of them stood firm. You raised fine warriors, Father noted. We all did, I reminded him. Then addressed my cousins. Give them hell. They nodded. Incoming! Our respite evaporated. A teleportation spell took 10 minutes. Only 2 had passed. The enemy flung themselves up the mountainside, keening like hellfire cicadas. Ready a lure, I ordered. Sebastian gripped his blade in a bare hand, and vampire heads snapped about. They sprinted for the scent of fresh blood, and his mount, Cousin Claudia, backed away. Readying an instant kill, I thought. Luna Valenti, I began in casting tongue. Faint white tattoos, bands, along my upper arms began to glow. A symmetric pair, they rose above my skin, beginning to whirl as I concentrated, lifting one hand with fingers splayed wide. I continued to chant, with a firm spirit and steady hand. Furious panic alit in the enemy's eyes. I tensed. May the spirits guide my magic to grasp these creatures' hearts in my fingers. I closed my fingers, seizing air, but I was met with resistance. Within a 20-meter radius, all vampires stilled in pain and shock. Their hearts were magically locked in my hand. A few gritted their teeth, dug their heels in, and leapt backward out of range. But with a horrible cracking squelch, something dark wrenched from each of their chests. Their bodies crumpled like wet paper mache, but their hearts hung in midair. The rest grimaced as Bruno took a step backward. They fell to the ground, heartless. When the final vampire went limp, I released my hand to a sound like thick, squishy rain as the hearts fell. I'd only resolved a mere fraction of the infestation. We've not sighted the main forces, Bruno informed me. No one else is coming. Another 5 minds dropped from the collective. If I couldn't provide an escape route for everyone, then I would for those I could. Fall back into the circles, I ordered. Enemy hands seized my arm behind. Fangs ravaged my neck as the hijacking vampire twisted my shoulder backward. I gritted my teeth against a scream. Hold tight, Bruno instructed. With my free hand, I did, and he lurched. Agonizing seconds passed until, finally, the silvery embrace of teleportation magic enveloped us. And the vampire atop me evaporated. A cloud of maroon vapor and empty clothes misted the air. The bitter of vampire blood, of corpse fluid, tainted my mouth. My healing was already kicking in, but damn did it hurt. I analyzed the dynamic, watching the last of my century flee into the teleportation circles. Gritting my teeth against the pain, I sat upright and extended an arm toward the stragglers. Crepitus. A vampire's arm exploded from its torso, and it screeched in surprise. With his attacker distracted, Atticus made a break for it, yet enemies swarmed like extra shadows in his wake. On it, Cousin Morella thought, her beastly jaws crushing one of the enemies. From her back, Cousin Carmela speared another through the skull. We'll rescue him. Please, I'm fine, Atticus boasted, swinging his longsword through another enemy. Hey, Sebs, I'm up 3 from your count. A flurry of vampires descended. Carmela was snatched from her sister's back, and her mind vanished. Dead. Bruno, I snarled, digging my heels into his sides. Go to them. He stood still with a whimper. Atticus rounded, putting his back to Morella's beast form, but she writhed beneath a mounted enemy. The vampire flung itself from her back and seized Atticus by the head instead. The appendage rounded on Atticus's neck. It's only a break, not a decapitation. Bruno, I yelled, kicking him in the sides. He ignored me. Father rallied the rest of the cousins to aid them. Calm is the mind, calm is the spirit, Bruno chanted to me. I settled. I couldn't lose it. I had to lead everyone even beyond an evacuation. I still had... Cousin Morella's mind vanished. My heart plummeted. Got Atticus, Father reported. The remaining cousins returned to the circles in a spritz of maroon mist. We should be safe here, Father assessed, setting aside our shared grief. None but Lunari can enter a charging circle. We're not safe, I mumbled. Find a healing mage for Atticus, quickly. A figure at the top of the basin caught my eye as I scanned the enemy forces. It bounced on the spot. Beside it, another straight-backed figure stood statuesque. Merda, I cursed, recognizing the dichotomous personalities, two of the Theos. Panic roared like wildfire through the collective. Immediately, I analyzed my mages. Mother was almost finished her spell, the silver writing about her circle nearly complete. All available mages, I barked. Prepare wall spells. Now. Then, Mama's head exploded. Wall spells, I screamed. Guard the casting mages from projectiles. Handheld stones, thrown from supernaturally enhanced hands, became bullets. A second mage was struck, his head snapping backward. Wall spells blossomed, vast sheafs of silver magic per mage, but there were gaps. Another 5 casting mages crumpled. Our exits had been halved in an instant. But that wasn't all. The magic encapsulating the circles extinguished, exposing the soldiers within. I can't, the mage within my circle whimpered, staring fearfully up at the top of the basin. Her magic simmered and winked. I can't do it. Katso, I cursed, throwing myself from Bruno's back. Move and begin a wall spell. I'll cast teleportation. Bruno, assume command of the sentry. Not a moment too soon either. The poor mage lost her nerve, and the spell dissipated. I stood firm, quickly re-establishing a connection with the circle. The spell restarted. Another 10-minute cast. The tide of the battle ebbed and flowed in the back of my mind. Agony ripped through my leg as a projectile made contact. I fell to one knee. With a low groan, I closed my eyes and chanted louder through the pain. I could feel my spell nearing completion, but I was mere seconds away when I became aware of something even more horrible, a lack of chanting alongside mine. The only mage casting teleportation was me. I opened my eyes. They laid upon a familiar, wolfish face only 2 meters beyond my circle's edge. A face set in concentration as, with an arm each, Bruno grappled 2 vampires at once. Go, Seraphina, he called. No. There were 24 minds left in the dynamic. 5 more winked out. Go. Bruno's olive face resolved from the beastly features. Human with gray eyes and curly black hair. A half-morph. Just a bloodied head and shoulders. He shouldn't be risking that. Make for the circle, I ordered. Authority ringing in my voice. I need more people. The others, fighting outside the circle to defend me, twitched, but couldn't disengage. I remained alone in the circle. Can't, sis, Bruno groaned, though his body leaned toward me. If I move, they'll get loose. They'll start throwing things too. They'll kill you. The others. Another 7 severed from the dynamic. We won't make it. Go. I can't carry on alone. I need you. All of you. Go. And for a second, I thought I could sense authority ring out in his voice. Gritting my teeth, I nodded once and flipped my palms from face up to face down. I'm sorry, I whispered as the world went white. Whatever came next, I'd face alone.